Girls of Reddit, how do you know when a guy is genuinely good and not just trying to get into your pants? Story 1. I remember the first time I kissed my now husband, who had clearly been very interested in a relationship with me for a few months beforehand. I asked him what it was he liked about me, and he gave me the most thoughtful, detailed answer with real examples of times I did something he found sweet or beautiful. I couldn't help but kiss him after that. He's still the best person I know. Story 2. Nice guys are nice to you. Nice guys are nice to people they don't want anything from. I also have a theory that nice guys, in the "you should have sex with me, I'm a nice guy" sense, don't realize that being nice is the bare minimum, and that you have to bring something else to the table. Be funny, be smart, be interesting, hell, be attractive. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some appeal in aesthetics. But don't act like being nice is an achievement. You're supposed to be nice. Bragging about it just shows you don't understand that, and it's a pretty good indication that it isn't genuine. Story 3. Watch his behavior. A genuinely good guy will invest his time in you. Even if he's busy, he'll reach out to see how your day was, because he cares. Want to learn things about you. Not just superficial facts, but who you are, your hopes, your family, the things most important to you. Support you. He'll want to know your hopes, dreams, and ambitions. For example, if you need to study and there's a party he wants you to go to, he won't pressure you or guilt trip you when you say your studies are more important. Show you off. He'll want to go on dates, post pictures with you, and tell his friends and family about you. He won't try to confine you to just his apartment or bedroom. Engage in meaningful conversation. He'll try to connect with you on more than just a physical level, intellectually and emotionally, too. A lot can also be said from a guy's language. Listen to how he speaks. Does he call you beautiful, or does he put you down? You should do more squats. Does he only talk about you sexually? Watch his eyes. There's a difference between a loving look and a lustful one. Keep in mind that everyone has flaws and nobody is perfect. Expecting someone to check every box every single day is unrealistic. We're human, and mistakes happen. But with a genuinely good man, it won't be an everyday occurrence. He'll care and always strive to improve. These are just a few differences I've noticed between the players and the man who treats me like a princess. Hope this helps you. Best of luck. You'll meet your Prince Charming. Story 4. I once met a girl at an outlet mall, and we got to talking for a while until it got late and dark. I'm kind of a shy guy, so I hesitated a bit, but I asked if she needed a ride to her car. It was dark and the parking lot was big, and even though I was interested in her, I also felt obligated to make sure she was safe. She said no because her car wasn't that far, so I followed up by asking if it was okay for me to at least walk her there, and she said yes. When we got to her car, I asked for her number. She shyly smiled and said, and I got the hint right away. I told her, "I get it, it's cool. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great night," smiled, and turned to walk away. I took a few steps when I heard her open her door and then say, Wait. I stopped, turned, and joked, "Nope, too late." She laughed, I walked back over, and we exchanged numbers. We ended up dating for 6 months. At some point during that time, she told me that how chill I was about being rejected made her instantly like me. Not in a pity way, she just realized I wasn't going to treat her badly if she turned me down. Story 5. It's generally easiest to tell by how they treat people differently, but seeing how they react when they learn about your relationship status is obviously a shortcut if you get the chance. It's always a bummer when you're having a great time with a group and a guy you thought you were hitting it off with, platonically, in your view, finds out you're in a relationship and immediately starts ignoring you. It always makes me sad. Not that it happens a ton, I'm not a smoke show or anything. But it feels like, oh, I guess I'm not as funny or interesting as I thought. I wasn't actually having a good conversation, he was just working on a potential lead. It really brings you down as a woman to watch that same guy enthusiastically continue socializing with the other guys after he stopped talking to you once he knows you're unavailable. Edit. I do acknowledge the potential downsides of being on the male side of this equation. I was aware of them already, but now my inbox is full of the same few messages over and over telling me I just need to see it from a different perspective. I'm only sharing my own experiences and my own perspective of the downsides for women. Story 6. Reputation. Is he known in your friend circle for being a player? Stage in life. Does he talk about settling down with someone? And does he associate that someone with you? Personality. How does he behave around his close friends? And what do they talk about? Does he keep his promises? Previous relationships. Has he had long-term relationships? Or has he mostly gone through phases of one-night stands? Cheating history. Has he ever cheated before? How he responds to your needs and wants. If you're allergic to a certain food, does he avoid bringing it around you? If you're sick, does he stay by your side? If you want to see him more often, does he make the effort to compromise? Story 7. I once met a girl at an outlet mall, and we got to talking for a while until it got late and dark. I'm kind of a shy guy, so I hesitated a bit before asking if she needed a ride to her car. It was a big, dark parking lot, and even though I was interested in her, I also felt obligated to make sure she was safe. She said no because her car wasn't that far, so I followed up by asking if it was okay for me to at least walk her there, and she said yes. When we got to her car, I asked for her number. She shyly smiled and said, and I got the hint right away. I said, I get it, it's cool. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great night, smiled, and turned to walk away. I had only taken a few steps when I heard her open her door and call out, Wait. I stopped, turned, and joked, Nope, too late. She laughed, I walked back over, and we exchanged numbers. We ended up dating for 6 months. At some point during that time, she told me that the way I stayed chill about being rejected made her instantly like me. Not in a pity way. She just realized I wasn't going to treat her badly if she turned me down. Story 7. They still do nice things for you even when sex isn't on the table. When my depression was at its worst, I had 2 guy friends come out of the woodwork. Lots of, oh, let me do anything to help. I'm here for you. But whenever I tried to actually talk to them or just have a polite conversation, it always turned into, you should move on, by sleeping with me. So gross. On the other hand, I hooked up with a guy on our first date, and he told me right away he didn't want anything serious or committed. Fine, I could respect that. We kept hooking up, and I didn't expect anything more from it. But he'd bring me coffee at work, comfort me on my bad days, and take the time to hang out with my friends just because I wanted him to. He was genuinely nice and treated me better than my own ex-fiancé. He had already gotten into my pants and could have just stopped putting in effort, but instead he treated me with respect and kindness. It helped me realize I deserved at least that minimum. Story 8. Your question is vague, and if you just want generic advice, keep scrolling through the many comments about what makes a good guy. A good guy is subjective. It's about what works for you. That's why some women struggle to leave abusive relationships. Somewhere in them, they still see a good guy. Don't overanalyze it. It just has to work for you. You should feel comfortable with him, have fun, and things should feel easy. If it's a struggle, then walk away. What's stopping you? He hasn't gotten into your pants yet, so why worry about leaving? If you're a good judge of character, you'll meet more good guys than bad. Not because there are more good men out there, but because you're selecting better matches. The reality is that most guys want to get into your pants. If they didn't, they'd be gay and interested in other men. The actual question is, how do you keep a guy interested after that? To answer that, ask yourself, what do I bring to the table? Too many girls rely only on being pretty, and guys get bored or cheat. The solution is to lead a fulfilling life, have interests, be curious, confident, and genuine. If you're an interesting woman who can take care of herself, you'll be more appealing, and guys will want to stick around. One final thing, beware of jealous guys who try to prevent you from living your life. You need someone who supports your growth as a person, but who's also comfortable setting boundaries, like saying he's not okay with you hanging out with your ex. That means you need a guy who's confident, active, and fulfilled in his own life, too. Story 9. It's hard to tell, but generally, the biggest indicator is effort. Someone who just wants to use you probably won't try very hard, because it's something he could get from anyone. He'll likely just invite you over to watch Netflix, and only interact with you when it's convenient. Meanwhile, a guy who actually likes you will make an effort. What that looks like depends on his budget, but no matter what, he'll try to find out what you like to eat, drink, or do, and then put in genuine effort to show you a good time and impress you. He'll often take the initiative. He'll want to see you and talk to you, and he'll actively try to make it happen. You won't have to start every conversation, you won't go days without hearing from him, and you won't be the only one planning hangouts. Again, effort. A guy who really likes you will be interested in who you are as a person. He'll listen when you talk about yourself and remember what you say. He won't shy away from personal topics that have nothing to do with sex. Someone who just wants to sleep with you will usually stick to small talk and sexual conversation. A guy who's genuinely interested will also be patient when it comes to sex. If he's looking for a relationship, he'll probably prefer things to develop at a pace that feels comfortable for both of you, so there's a solid foundation. A guy who just wants sex won't want to waste time. He'll push sexual talk and touching even when it's not clearly reciprocated, and you'll likely feel some pressure if you don't immediately respond to his advances. Story 10. One of the best signs for me when I met my boyfriend was that he took things aggravatingly slow, at least for me. I had to make all the first moves, sitting closer and closer until he basically had no choice but to put his arm around me, initiating the first kiss, and so on. For a while, I was actually afraid he wasn't interested, but later he told me he was just really nervous around me and usually wasn't that way around girls. A little further into the relationship, when I was still suspicious, thanks to lots of trust issues, it was the little things that made it clear. Like many people have said, it wasn't just the compliments or nice words. He actually did nice things. And usually, guys who are faking being nice won't put in the effort. They just smooth things over with words. But he would write little notes and stick them around my room, bring me a smoothie before class, drive me when I needed a ride, and things like that. Basically, his actions spoke much louder than his words. Story 11. This is funny. It reminds me of Ali Wong's new stand-up routine, where she says girls usually make a guy wait to have sex if they're genuinely interested in him. But if not, they'll just use him for sex. I'd say the same. If you're really interested in a guy for a relationship, you make him wait a month or so. If you go out with him enough and pay attention to his actions, you can tell whether he's just going through the motions to get into your pants or if he's emotionally invested in you. A month is usually long enough to figure out if you actually enjoy spending time together. By that point, guys who only want sex will probably already be sleeping with other women or will have moved on. Also, it's no big deal if you sleep with him. Just don't suddenly start acting differently afterward. Think of it this way. Wouldn't you rather find out early if someone was just using you for sex? That way you can cut him out before you're really invested. Be smart, but don't be too afraid of getting hurt either. Learning to balance hope and optimism with emotional disappointment is basically the point of dating. Story 12. When you have strong boundaries and are honest with both yourself and him about what you're looking for, it helps to genuinely ask what he wants too, and then actually listen to and accept his response. Most guys send pretty clear signals that they're not interested in committing beyond having a good time, but a lot of women don't want to hear it and convince themselves otherwise. I was deeply in love with someone I was dating when I realized that was the case. I'm kind of an outlier because I recognized my needs weren't being met and I accepted it when he said he just wanted to have fun. For the record, he was a genuinely good guy. He wanted monogamy, but not real love, full trust, dependability, or a true, this is it partnership. The hardest thing I ever did was walk away because what I wanted was to keep having fun, being in love, having sex, and ignoring the fact that our expectations would eventually explode into fiery resentment. So yeah, you really know when you know yourself and can be honest with both of you. I think it's kind of a cop-out to say men aren't genuinely good just because they want to get into a girl's pants. Honestly, that's part of what drives our species forward. My own experiences were in my early 20s, when I wasn't super interested in serious relationships and was mostly looking for casual sex. So I don't have much experience with waiting to see if a guy had pure intentions before getting physical. I met my now partner when I was 24. We met at a club, and I immediately took him home because I wanted to get into his pants. 2 months later, I told him point blank that while what we were doing was fun, I was looking for something serious. And if that wasn't what he wanted, then we should end it. I was fully prepared to let him go if he wasn't in it for the long haul. 5 years later, and now 5 months pregnant, I'm really glad I took him home that night. Story 13. Hell if I know. Apparently I suck at telling the difference. If I'm not as naive as I think I am, the key is that he'll respect my boundaries, what I'm comfortable with, what he's comfortable with, what I want, what he wants, etc. He'll actively communicate with me about it. I'm more than willing to talk about anything if I'm with someone I like and see it going somewhere. It's really passive versus active. If someone respects you, they'll proactively invest in you. They won't sweep things under the rug, need to be told 10 times and still forget, or make half-assed attempts and empty promises. They won't push when they know they're trampling over your comfort level, or pout, whine, and get pissy when you bring up safe sex, STDs, and testing. If someone cares about you, they'll work with you. If a guy truly cares, he'll show it. That's not such a crazy concept, right? I don't have a problem with guys wanting to get laid. What I do have a problem with is when a guy just wants to use me for sex. Sex means more to me than that. It's just who I am and what I'm comfortable with. I know I'm not a casual sex type of woman. If a guy I know or am talking to wants casual sex, then it's on me to communicate that I'm not into it, and hopefully we can part ways peacefully. I respect that about them, and I expect the same in return. At the end of the day, it all comes down to mutual respect. Story 14. It took me a long time to learn, but it was so worth it. A good friend of mine would always ask if I needed help with anything. At the time, I didn't have a car, so he'd offer me rides and things like that. He never expected anything in return. He also treated me like a normal human being. He asked about my interests and just talked to me like a good friend. In the back of my mind, I always thought he'd eventually try to ask for more, but he never did. Even when I told him I was interested in someone else, he kept treating me the same. When I'd tell my other friends about it, they'd joke that he must be gay or something. But when that relationship fizzled out, he still showed me the same kindness. He wasn't upset that I'd ignored him for weeks, which honestly surprised me. When we finally met up again, he just asked how I was, and we picked up right where we left off. He still never asked for anything more. That's when I realized, when a guy treats you as an equal, that's when you know he's genuine. In my experience, a lot of men tend to put women on pedestals and treat them like royalty. But that's not always the way to a woman's heart. It creates too much pressure to reciprocate, and if you don't, you're suddenly seen as shallow or selfish because, oh my God, he was such a great guy and treated you like a queen. Story 15. So I started reading this and found it really interesting. At first, I had a response to the original question, as a guy myself. But then I got caught up in the debate about whether or not men actually want to be friends with women who aren't single. I consider myself a genuinely good guy who cares about people and shows it through the little things, just like many women here say they want. Despite that, I haven't been very successful with women, which has led to both a lack of and a strong desire for sex. Since brothels and other outlets for sexual satisfaction are illegal here in the good old US of A, I often find myself wanting to be with basically every girl I meet while still being a genuinely good guy who would never be opposed to a real relationship. Where's the dividing line? I don't think it's fair to treat those two things as mutually exclusive. As for men being friends with women, most guys stop showing interest once they learn a girl is already taken, and I think there are a few reasons for that. Many men see interactions with women as potential partnerships, sexual or otherwise. And once that possibility is gone, the interaction feels pointless. Not that it should be that way, but here's an example from my own life where I went the opposite route. I've been friends with a girl for about 1.5 years now. I really like her, but she's been in a relationship since before we met. When we first started becoming friends, I was mostly just attracted to her physically and intrigued by the bits of her personality I saw through mutual friends. So I created opportunities for us to get closer. It worked, and I eventually realized I genuinely liked her as a person. The problem was that she was still in a relationship. For me, that was emotionally tough. I knew my feelings couldn't be returned and that we'd always see our relationship differently. When I finally told her how I felt, it sort of turned into a, so you don't want to be friends with me just because I won't sleep with you kind of situation. And yes, of course I did want to sleep with her, but it was more than that. Long story short, being friends with women while you're single can be really difficult emotionally. Story 16. It's not very easy to know in the beginning. In my opinion, it takes time to really figure out if someone is genuinely nice or just wants to get into your pants. I knew my now husband was a good guy when I told him right away that I wasn't ready for any kind of sexual relationship. I was young and still a virgin, and that actually seemed to relieve him. He was a virgin too. Whenever things started getting a little too heated, we'd stop each other and calm things down. I have to admit, the first time he stopped me, I realized I meant more to him than just sex. We dated for 6 whole years before we finally had intercourse. Beyond that, he really listened. He truly paid attention to everything I said. He remembered dates, appointments, even things I sometimes forgot myself. He'd bring me little gifts just because they reminded him of me, and he often did small, thoughtful things that made him so special. He still does those things, even 11+ years later. Story 17. It's not very easy to know at the beginning. In my opinion, It takes time to really see if someone is genuinely nice or if they just want to get into your pants. I knew my now husband was a good guy when I told him straight off the bat that I wasn't ready for any kind of sexual relationship. I was young and still a virgin, and it actually seemed to relieve him. He was a virgin too. Whenever things started to get a little too heavy, we would stop each other and calm things down. I have to admit, the first time he stopped me, I realized I meant more to him than just sex. We dated for 6 whole years before we finally had intercourse. Beyond that, he truly listened. He paid attention to everything I said. He remembered dates, appointments, even things I sometimes forgot myself. He would give me little gifts just because they reminded him of me, and he often did small, thoughtful things that made him so special. And he still does those things, even 11 plus years later. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, activate the notification bell, and share a similar story or anything you'd like to say in the comments. See you next time.